Start.
All right, all set.
Thanks, David. The meeting will now come to order. It is 6:32. Welcome to the April 18th regular meeting of the West Hartford Commission of the Arts. My name is Chuck Corsi, and I am the chair of the commission. This meeting is being conducted in virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Okay. Members of the public can view this meeting live on West Hartford Community Television, online at whctv.org, and YouTube/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website. Since we are conducting this meeting in virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures I'd like to cover before we begin. First, I'll ask participants to mute your device when you're not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you in order I see hands raised. If you are participating via audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make good faith efforts to state their name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has a problem with connectivity, you should immediately call David, whose phone number you were provided earlier. He will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask that you call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. Okay, let's proceed with the roll call. Okay. Karen Bachman?
Here.
Matthew Bragg is not here. Javier Colon is not here. Chuck Corsi is here. Latanya Farrell?
Here.
Ginny Kemp? Ginny's here. Carol McCabe?
Here.
Marilla Pinedasor?
Here.
Susan Rothenberg?
Here.
Great. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from our March 21st meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt? Latanya, do I have a second? Karen? Okay, all those in favor, just simple raise of hands. Opposed? Okay, Marilla, that passes unanimously. Old business. Nothing much new to report. I have been getting some emails saying that the committee for St. Brigid School redevelopment and the community center library at that location, they'll be meeting soon, but no date is coming. Again, in talking to people, I'm going to encourage. I hope that all boards and commissions and towns will kind of be the repository of any suggestions. But I ask you to, keep note of any suggestions that people may have for what goes into this new building. And once this commission or once this group meets, it's my hope that we'll come up with some sort of form that people can fill out and in an easy way that people can submit those forms either, via email or whatever. Murals in private. Oh, any questions about St. Brigid? Okay. Oh, that was Teddy. Teddy had a question. Just kidding. Murals in private property. I got to work on the press release. I haven't done that yet, but this is a good time now that it's getting nice out. The decorative cylinder advertising and the set-asides for new development. That is all in the hands of the planner and the council right now as they move on those issues. They have, as we mentioned at the last month's meeting, these are something that are on their lists of things to do, to discuss, not necessarily do. Two separate ways. Decorative cylinder advertising, I think that would fall under, some of the center and other retail and commercial area in town improvements. And then the set-asides, that's a zoning issue that the council will be looking at, much in the same way that they're looking at the some policy around affordable housing. Any questions on those two? Okay. Seeing none, you all should have gotten the draft town hall art and signage display recommendations that Ginny did a great job with, and kind of, it's the first part of many parts that will go into a recommendation that we will eventually present to the town. And we don't want to try and do it all at once. Today or tonight, what we're looking at is, kind of uses by floor for displays and of art and other artifacts, and also some of the observations and recommendations that we all had during our tour. What I'll do, I'm going to hand it over to Ginny in a second just to walk through the floors. But some good news, our hard work has already paid off. Not really, but one of the things that was on all of our checklists is being taken care of. I spoke to Rick Ludwith, who is the interim town manager, and he has informed me that the town is soliciting bids for digital signage in town hall. So those hideous looking columns that are inaccurate and broken and all that kind of good stuff, those will be a thing of the past. So everybody take a bow. Great job with that. Kind of kidding, kind of not. The observations, recommendations, we had talked about how not just the first floor, but a lot of the public spaces are cluttered, whether it's chairs, tables in the hall, things being left. I think the big question that I still have is, does the town want to promote that south entrance as a town hall entrance? Right now, it sends conflicting messages. It has a sign there, but then it also has an arrow pointing people to go to the front entrance, the first floor entrance. So that's something I think that needs to be reconciled. And also that, the kids' art from 20 years ago that's still in the council chambers, that obviously, those need to be replaced, as with some other things. Does anybody have any thoughts on the observations and recommendations? Yes, Karen.
Okay, so first of all, somebody did a lot of work to put this together. It's very nicely presented between the meeting we had and then the meeting we're having now. So if that was you, Chuck, or Ginny, thank you. The question I had for most of it, it all reflected some of the suggestions we've been talking about, but the process for managing it all, because a lot of it we're recommending to be on a rotating basis, certain displays, making decisions about when things will come down. That infrastructure, I think part of what's happened in the town hall is it's nobody's job,
Right.
Except for the kids, the school's arts display. I think the art department, fine arts department, kind of takes care of that. They oversee that a bit. I don't know. I assume they do.
You're absolutely right.
But what accommodations will the town make to have somebody manage it, to actually have someone keep on top of the schedule, or are they thinking that that's something this committee will do?
Excellent questions, and it kind of leads. I probably should have gone into a little bit more detail. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but
Okay.
next meeting is really going to be about the policy in terms of who decides what goes up for how long, who sets the criteria. It's a lot. And we're not in any, huge rush to get a lot of this done, because I don't think they're gonna do a lot of changes while we're still kind of in that end of COVID place. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's going to be, one of the things that they wanted was a committee that decides on what goes up, what comes down, for how long. We will next week or next month be talking about, what we think would be the right policies. We'll kind of take it the same way we did last time. We
Okay.
had, from our when we went through the PowerPoint last month, Mirela took some great minutes. We have some good feedback that people gave us as to the management. But not only are we going to need that committee as to who's going to make those decisions, but the town needs to hire somebody. There needs to be funds for curators who do these things professionally, so it looks nice.
Mhm.
And Ginny, as a she's done her share of curating her own displays. I think it's very important for this is just my opinion. I think you guys share it. As an arts commission, we're trying to promote the arts in town, but we're also promoting the artists. And how can you promote artists if you ask people to do free stuff? It just doesn't make any sense. We got to change that attitude. So we need to, the town needs to. It's not we're not talking tens and thousands of dollars, but I think that shows a commitment that we want to do this right. We want to do it professionally. That answer your question in a long, drawn out way?
Mhm. Thanks. It's a beginning.
Yes. So, Jenny, why don't I hand it over to you to kind of walk us through the rest? And Jenny deserves the credit for the work on this, Karen, to answer your first credit. She did first question. She did a good job.
Chuck is being humble because he did the whole section on observations and recommendations. But so first of all, I'm sorry I kept moving around. I'm having connectivity issues here, and there's just a lot of chaos with kids running around. So so if you look at this section, I won't go into all the details because you can read through it, but in terms of recommendations by floor, and again, we discussed a lot of this last month, but what we thought is we'd start off with just a few floors, we can add. But the first floor, and perhaps most importantly, is, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of potential for the first floor, like we've discussed. So first off, our idea would be to protect designated space for some of the existing pieces that are already up there that are obviously really important, like the 9/11 plaque and other pieces that people are attached to or have really historical significance. But the idea would be, by grouping them all together, it tells a better story. The pieces become more meaningful, I think, and it's just less scattered. So we would try to protect a space for that, or that would be the recommendation. And then the basically what would be left would be a rotating gallery, at least in the main lobby area and the main hallways, for local artists, like we discussed. And so the display committee would come up with sort of criteria and the structure around how that would work. And hopefully there would be funding to hire, or even if it was someone from that committee, to basically manage the space. So that's, the idea for the first floor. For the second floor, I just put a pause on that because I know we discussed the possibility of some murals on the second floor. And as I was thinking about that, and just the general concept of a mural, is they're generally, pretty big pieces of art. And there's a reason why oftentimes they're outside, because it gives you can really step back and see the art in its entirety. So my thought was, in a hallway, they're fairly wide hallways, but we just felt like, well, maybe we just pause on that for a second and focus on a couple of floors in terms of big changes. So the third floor, that would be focused more on sort of significant pieces related to West Hartford, either historical pieces, contemporary pieces, anything related sort of to the culture of West Hartford. And then in particular for the legislative chamber, because there were already those really cool aerial photographs up there, the large scale pieces, to stick those, keep really cool photographs there and sort of make that more of a photography space. So that could be, again, historical photographs. It could be photos of community members, community leaders. We could get creative with it, or the committee could. About 3 or 4 years ago, I saw an exhibit where there was a call for community members to submit square images taken on their cell phones. And then the exhibitor printed those photographs on a really simple, sort of a foam board, and then displayed them as a grid in the space. And it was a really cool, cost-effective sort of look. And that could be, you could have a theme, it could be, your favorite place in West Hartford, one of your favorite memories or moment in West Hartford. It could be a zillion different things, but it gets the community involved in that space. So that was one idea. But again, just to sort of keep the legislative chamber as a photography sort of related spot. It doesn't have to all be that, but maybe, mostly. And then for the fourth floor, the Board of Ed is doing a pretty good job with the fourth floor. And in the rough draft document that we received during our tour, there was reference to that floor as sort of already in good shape, was the sense I was getting. So again, just in the spirit of taking baby steps, I thought we'd just take a crack at the first floor and third floor first. And a lot of this, again, would depend on this display committee that doesn't exist yet. And we'd have to help them create maybe more specific criteria around how you decide, what stays, what goes for how long of a period of time, at least some guidelines, so that it makes their job easier in terms of deciding what stays and what goes. But this is just a start. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or ideas related to what we put onto paper.
I think great job, and I especially like the idea of the photos. In a you could have people, one for one stretch. It could be photos of your favorite place in West Hartford, or nature, or what does community mean to you? I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. I think that's a great idea. And in terms of, well, why don't we? Are there any other questions or comments, or Carol?
I just wanted to say thanks, Ginny, for doing all that, and Chuck. And I think it's a great first step to get everything down on paper and written out to convey to town hall what our thoughts are. Because I feel like we've been talking about it for a while, and I think it's a great first step. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? So first step, next step would be is Ginny and I will work on, first of all, who this committee is. And they had made some suggestions. I think it's important that we have people with experience on this committee, and not make it just like administrators in town hall. There's got to be some on there, obviously. And at the end of the day, it's the town council that has the final say. So we don't have to put anybody on the town council on this committee, because eventually they're going to be the ones that approve it. The town manager probably would be on this committee. and perhaps the town clerk, because the town clerk kind of runs town hall. But other than that, I envision, somebody from the, the art league being on it. Maybe, one member of this commission, a curator, um, and other, professionals, some professional artists. But again, nothing's been decided. And then, in addition with this, with kind of putting together who this committee is, Ginny and I will also take a look at the criteria for, what is it that this commission would be open to accepting? How do you accept something? For how long do you accept it? Who owns it once it's given to the town? I mean, are some items on loan or are some items given? All that kind of stuff. And again, we had some of that in the presentation we had last month, but that'll be something that we will put together a draft. And I encourage you. I mean, it's all right if you have individual suggestions yourself, as long as we're not debating them on email. I would encourage you to send them, not to the whole group, but just send them to either Ginny or myself. Go back and take a look at that the presentation that we had last month, and if that triggers any new thoughts, by all means, feel free to send them to either me or Ginny. Yes, Karen.
Yes. Are there any things in storage? Are there things that have been given to the town hall that are sitting somewhere?
I think that's an excellent question. There are archives in town hall. I'm not sure. I've never seen them. I'd love to see them. But the town hall does have some archives. But probably more importantly, the Noah Webster House and West Hartford Historical Society, they're all the same. They have a vast collection, as does the West Hartford Public Library. One of the things that Ginny and I talked about is making sure that there's some uniformity in policies of accepting, whether it's gifts, kind of saying, this is what we will accept, and this is what we won't accept. And oh, by the way, this committee, at least for what's going on in town hall, has full discretion over anything. They don't have to accept everything. Because the problem, and I know, over at the library, they've run into problems, and also at the Webster House, where, people are, kids are cleaning out their parents' house and they just dump off boxes of photos and things at the Webster House or the library, which is great, but it's not all stuff that's relevant. And the town library, no, they don't have the storage for everything like that. But I think, oh, go ahead, Ginny.
I was just going to say, in terms of, as we think through, recommended policy or criteria, that I imagine we want to present to town hall sort of a framework, but we don't want to get too specific, right? Because we want whoever this display committee is to have some flexibility around, and a lot will depend on what are the current exhibits or what's currently being displayed, what's been donated, like, just the flow of what's going in and out of the building at a particular time, and just the political climate or whatever it is. We want to make sure that I don't think things have to get super, super specific.
No.
We just want a framework, so.
I think the only specific thing that the town will want is the ability to say no. Because they don't want everybody to
Exactly.
come to town and give them their stuff.
Can I say one more thing, Chuck?
Yeah,
I think
sure.
I spoke with Sheila Daly at the Noah Webster House, and we were just discussing how they handle this. And one thing I thought was really helpful is that, if they can't accept something, they always have ideas or suggestions for the people who want to donate whatever they're donating. So it might be another it might be more related to, Avon or Simsbury area. So they would give them info on who to contact at their historical societies. Or she mentioned St. Joseph's College has a gallery. That might be a spot, So part of what we could do is create a list maybe for the display committee so that they're not just rejecting people's stuff, that they could offer maybe some suggestions to people as to where to, look next. So.
Excellent. So any other questions about that document that we've reviewed?
Just remind me, Chuck, which floor is the town clerk's office? Because they have those beautiful murals.
Yes.
So which floor is that?
Third floor. That's the same floor as the council chambers.
All right. Yeah.
It's a shame. I mean, the public doesn't, nobody, we're not going to touch those murals. I mean, those are beautiful. It's great art from, I think that was a WPA program in the 30s that painted those.
The reason I'm asking, it was just mural. I was wondering if everything is on second floor, mural floor.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that made me wonder. Thank you.
The other thing about those murals, they're not really open to the public.
Correct.
That part of the office.
Correct.
But yeah. So what we have now, that the document that we reviewed, that's just one piece. When we get together next month, we'll have those additions that we talked about, and we'll have a similar discussion. And again, it's the feedback tonight is great. If you have any ideas about this committee, if you have any ideas about the criteria, please feel free to email me or Ginny. Okay, so we'll take it that we don't have to vote on this or anything like that, but as is so far, this document is in pretty good shape. I think once we get all the pieces together, that's when we'll all kind of vote, just to make it official that this is the document that we want to present to the town in terms of the policy and the procedures and all that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Why don't we move on to the committee updates, if anybody has any? Anything going on with the collaborative, Karen?
We haven't met between this last meeting and the last meeting and today. I passed along some of the comments, especially upon reaching out to the two organizations, Pride and Juneteenth,
Yep. Great.
but I hadn't received anything back. Sometimes people, respond to an email you send out. I sent it out as kind of a report, but I'm pretty sure there's a meeting due pretty soon because we meet every 3 months.
Who's the chair now?
Herb Emanuelson.
Okay.
And we were going to meet with the town manager as well in the last meeting, I believe it was, but then Matt, changed jobs and we have an acting, and we thought we'd let him get his feet wet and then also just see where things are. And
He would love to meet with you guys. He's great.
yeah, he is. Yeah.
Rick's doing a great job. We're lucky.
Yeah.
Town's lucky to have him.
I think it's the meeting that we meet every 3 months makes it a little difficult to have continuity unless there's a hot item
Yeah.
thing,
Okay.
So anyway, nothing new to report.
Okay.
It's just-
Is there any new business? Does anybody have, or I'm sorry, any last call for committee updates? Nothing. Okay. Do any commission members have any new business that they'd like to introduce? Okay. And this is, we kind of, it's always at the end of the meeting and we kind of go over you know, I encourage you. I mean, that you don't want to come up with new ideas for the sake of just having new ideas, but I'd encourage any commission member, if they have something that's a particular interest or something they'd like to, you know, pursue or have the group talk about, I really encourage you to, you know, bring it up um, and let us discuss it and see what we can do. Okay, no new business. David, do we have anybody in the public that just died? Oh, Latanya, I'm sorry.
Tanya.
I had a question because you're what you said led me to kind of reach out to all of you, and I was thinking about how, you know, with Javier and I being on the artist outreach
Yep.
committee, like my thought was reaching out to artists, like creating some sort of a forum to hear from them, like, what do you need? What do you need? What are you looking for? How can we best support? I mean, I look at the different committees that we have, and sometimes I wonder if it's not just a matter of linking up some of our artists to the different committees or just different areas that they don't even realize exist within the town.
Yeah.
So just moving forward, thinking about creating some sort of regular way that artists can connect with us to say, like, so we can say, you know, they can say to us, well, I want to be able to ask them, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Marilla.
I was thinking that last June, we put together that outdoor concert in front of the town hall entrance. Why not, you know, make it happen this year as well, and perhaps advertising as and reaching out to those artists, seeing who might be interested in performing, just to put their names out there. I know it's, you know, it's we could present it as a way to make themselves known.
Absolutely.
Last year it was the symphony, which could, you know, be this year too, or, you know, half of concert, or I'm just shooting ideas right now.
Yeah.
But it could be entirely designated for the artists that we have on that list, actually. Why not?
Yeah. Kind of like an open mic.
I totally, I hear you. Like I was thinking of an idea, and I haven't had a chance to really connect. Hav's traveling. We've both been, you know, I was on school vacation, but like a what's up West Hartford, or what's new West Hartford, or something. What's West Hartford, where Mirela, kind of like to what you're talking about, where people can kind of come and showcase, whether it's art, whether it's dance, let other folks in the community come and see them doing something, whether it's monthly, whether it's seasonally. They come and just showcase, kind of like an arts, I don't know,
Yeah.
arts fair. I don't know. I don't know if I'm thinking too.
No, I like all this. This, I mean, I think it's great. The
The open mic piece to it, though, Mirela, I really love that idea, whether it's someone coming out to share a piece of poetry or someone coming out to share a piece of artwork, and they're talking about their artwork. And if you'd like to see more artwork, here are my cards. And then someone else come and share, like a place to just share. And it might even just be a Zoom. Like if they can't come out in person, then there's things that they can do in Zoom. You want to come and sing a song? Hey, hire me in my band.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I think it. I don't. I think something like that. I mean, we're talking about producing an event when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to do something like that, it's best that we partner with someone or some organization. I think it's too late right now, but I'm thinking, a time when when there's already a built-in crowd, like Celebrate, you know, perhaps as a component of Celebrate, you have, because I know they're always looking for people to perform at the showmobile or whatever it is that they have. But maybe that's something, a component of the next Celebrate. I just don't know if we could pull it off in 2 months. But I definitely I like that idea of showcasing. How do we showcase artists? But it's a big effort, and we need to figure out what the best forum is to do that. But getting back to your original question, Latanya, I really like the idea of asking the artist before, maybe even before we go out and say, this is what you need a place to perform. Just going to them and saying, how can we help? And, I'm open to any suggestions on how best that we can do that. I know that there's a lot of, we have a couple of Facebook groups that are very well populated in town. Julie and West Hartford Artists Emporium. Instead of going out there and creating a new Facebook group, maybe we try to get together at first with just, different representatives of different arts, visual arts, performing arts, all dance, theater, whatever. And not trying to solve all the problems, but just saying, what's the best way that we can get out there? And the collaborative can help with this too, Karen, is what do you need? What do artists need? How can we help?
I was thinking, to even create a survey like what was done with the Artist Job Bank. It's the same type of a document.
Yeah.
If we can, I wouldn't mind creating something like that if I can share the link and just get it out there, a basic,
That's a
what do
great
you
idea.
need?
Yeah.
And then we can get it to those Facebook pages. We could even, ask any of our local papers to, hey, can you just put this link
Yeah.
in there, or
Why
even
don't
just
we do this?
survey them?
This is I'm glad we brought up new business. Let's put this under old business next month.
Okay.
Continue the discussion, but maybe in the meantime, Latanya, you can talk to Hav and say, what if we, kind of did the same thing we were doing before, make it very simple. This is the mission of the Arts Commission. What can we do to help you? Make it very, very simple. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of different ideas.
Okay.
As long as we can get it out, and I think we can get it out to as many people as possible.
Okay. I'll talk to Hav and create a similar type of document, and then within the next week or two, share it with all of you so you guys can kind of give your feedback, if
Sure.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where we can get that shared to.
And I think Stephanie is still keeping the website going, right, Karen? For the Arts Collaborative?
Yes, that's there. It is going, but she has had difficulty, I think, updating it in any way. It's set up to go on its own.
Yeah.
My point is there were organizations that need to be added, and as far as I can see, they weren't added. And
That's on them.
no, they may have sent her the information and it didn't get in.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's possible.
Yeah.
The other piece is that they've been really busy at the ballet. If you've
Yeah,
noticed,
it's
they're
great.
producing something every 2 months, it seems, or 3 months. They're either finishing a production, putting a production on, or starting up a new one and doing all of the work that goes with that part. So I think part of it is she's overcommitted. We were trying to put a calendar together so that there'd be a easier place to, because some of the calendars that exist out there, there's tons of other stuff on them. And as far as I can see, we haven't had any real progress on that. So I don't know until we get to a meeting. There's not a lot of communication in between meetings. She,
One of the, I
yes,
would-
the answer is yes. She's still in
Okay.
charge of the website. The website is still up. Yes.
because they can host they can, like they did for the Artist Job Bank. they can
Sure.
host
I
it.
think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
What I would suggest, Karen, that you bring up with them is the website is Why West Hartford. That's a new website that is really, it's less than a year old, and it's still in its infancy. But that may be the best place for the calendar. I mean, they're putting a calendar there, and I know I really lobbied them strongly for an arts and culture separate website there, but they have everything all together. There's got to be a way that they can break it down. But long story short, Renee McHugh in Town Hall is working with the chamber on that, and that's something that you guys might want to have a conversation with Renee about how to get, not the website's actually up and running, how you get a specific arts and culture calendar on that site. And I'd be happy to help, anything I can in that kind of pushing in the town hall. But take a look at that website, Why West Hartford.
Is
And
that the one that comes out? Is that the one that's got the chamber involved with the town?
yes,
Okay. Yeah. There's so much on that. That's why we were, this basically came out of trying not to schedule things on the same weekends. If you
Yeah.
can avoid it. If you're a one shot, you have one performance, you don't want to schedule it on the same day as one of our other organizations that only have that one day. If you have a series like, 10 performances, that's a little different, but you try to avoid being or maybe you do it all on the same weekend for a reason, like an arts weekend.
Yeah.
So that's out there, but I'll bring this stuff forward. I was just gonna look at my phone to see when the next meeting is. But I think part of what if Latanya's talking about, there's a good place for it on that website.
oh yeah,
It's a matter of getting the word out that, if you're out there and you're some kind of an artist, a performing, a visual, whatever, you might want to take a look at this survey. We can, like,
Mhm.
we got a little publicity before for the other things, so.
Right.
well, I'm sure we can get some press on this.
Mhm.
That would be great. Okay, I'll work on it.
Oh, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, well, that Karen mentioning that the calendar will make sure that there are no conflicts and people could attend all the major arts and cultural events brought me back to last year. I remember that we had the symphony concert in the same day with West Hartford Emporium that staged a very nice rock hunt or something like that in town. Luckily it wasn't at the same time, but indeed it's very, very important that if possible we coordinate. So
Yep.
we make sure. And I know another idea that I had, if we do an open mic, and the reason I said that half of the concert or half of the event could be the symphony, not because I'm just using it as an example, because the symphony already has an established audience that will come out and will ensure that all the other new artists have people that are in the seeking new new artistic experiences. So it would be important to
Absolutely.
think of that, from that angle, so we have audience. We make sure that we bring
You
them.
guys also, you have your own sound. Do you have your own sound? Did you guys mic
Um,
here outside?
I I'm not entirely sure. I don't think we did in last June. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
If we had a mic, but we did not, we didn't have multiples to have any of that elaborated scheme. No.
All righty. Well, we'll pick up the unless any. Oh, Sue, yes. I think you're on
I
mute.
was just gonna ask, was that symphony concert, Mirela, last June, was that outside at King Philip? Was that the
No.
one? No.
No, it was in front of the main entrance of the town hall.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Oh, this is super.
I was just looking at the Y West Hartford site while people were talking. I was listening and looking this up. Once you get into the arts part of it, it is a good resource, but I'm finding trouble finding their calendar. I can see their listing like June, what's coming up in the community events, but all they have is Celebrate West Hartford. And yet there's a ton of, they do have classical Capital Classics when you get to July,
Yeah.
the Shakespeare Festival. So it's a resource that hasn't been fully utilized, I think.
Well, I think it's up to the organizations to get the info to them.
Yeah, how to do it and all of that, but it is good.
I don't. Yeah. It's a start.
I would definitely start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Start someplace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions about that? And I'll make sure that we get this on the agenda under old business. Gonna put it right up there on the top. Okay, no more questions and going once. David, do we have any folks in the public that want to join in the discussion?
We do not.
Okay. So with that, there's no public comment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mirela makes the motion and Karen seconds. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 7-0. Thank you all. Thank you all very much and enjoy this lovely weather and hopefully we won't get too much rain tonight.
Yeah.
Have a good
Have
month,
a good
everyone.
night.
Good night,
All right.
everybody.
Good night,
Take care.
everyone.
Be well.